Hello, great to be here. I'm going to talk today about design and how design can bring business value through creating customer value. My first real impact with the big data was when we were working with a big retail company in Finland. And their data scientists briefed us that we have all the information about our customers. We know exactly what they buy, where they buy, and how they buy. But that doesn't help us to create any new services. It doesn't give us the insight needed when we try to create something new products or services. Even though we sort of know them in a molecule level, they told us. And then that led us to wonder, why is that? And then it's quite obvious then, if you think what the big data is that it has a huge N, so there's lots of big amount of data. It answers what happens, when something happens, how it happens. The time perspective is now and history, usually. It's quantitative, and the insight comes from collected data points. And the problem is that it loses context and resolution. So the classic example, which I already showed you, is that if you look at just the big data and you try to figure out, for example, what the clients or what the people behind that data is that you get easily misunderstanding, and there's a blind spot. So, for example, this classic example of 70-year-old British male millionaire, and it covers quite a huge range of different kind of people. So even though in big data and data sense they look the same, they can act, and their behavior and their culture can be totally different. Which is sort of crucial if you then are trying to design, for example, service or product to them, and you only look to big data. You can obviously go like hugely wrong. So this is what the data scientists meant us, that the big data doesn't help us when we are trying to create something new. So the new perspective was needed. And that comes from tick data. And the tick data is opposite of the big data. Tick data answers why things happen. They require small amount of information, but it relies on human learning. And it's qualitative, so it gives concrete ideas how to design better. And one really important thing about it also is that it gives the context and perspective to big data. It shows the patterns in a big data, which are the most meaningful data points. Which are the data points you should be concentrating on? Which data points create most of the value? And why things happen? So understanding what really happened in a real life, then you get better understanding of your big data, and this tick data then rescue the big data from this context loss. So to summarize that is that if you really want to have a complete picture, real insight, you should combine these two. The tick data is, since it's qualitative, it's a little bit sticky. It's not so easy to quantify. You have to go and meet real people, make first assumption and then strengthen the assumption and make conclusions about this human data. And that means that you need human data specialists, for example, psychologists, anthropologists, people from the human science background. But it's also good to remember that everything you measure with the big data is not valuable. And the thick data helps you find out what is really valuable in your big data. It also shows the blind spots, that there is some data that you might need to gather with your big data to get more complete picture and more valuable big data. The classic example is that it's also from a retail online service, that big data shows that there is a huge loss of customers in a certain point of the checkout process. And big data, of course, doesn't tell why this happens, why people are dropping off in this stage of service. But then when you go and research how the people are using the service, talk with them, interview them, they found out that there was a little glitch in the process, and that was a register button. The button label was register, and that led that people didn't want to go to this register flow. But just changing the button to continue, in the first month they get the 15% better go-through rate. So, and in the next year, the amount of money they received from this change was 300 million. So those little things found in a thick data can turn out to be really important and really valuable. But of course, you have to combine these both. You have to have the big data and thick data in place to create good services and products. The one important thing is also the time perspective. Since the big data shows what's happening now and what happens in history, is then the beauty of the thick data is that with thick data and with the design process, you can go to the future. So actually, the design functions as a time machine. And this is where I spend most of my time, is future of our clients. So we are designing products and services for our clients and try to figure out how those services look in the future. And we show these services and products to our clients' clients. So the end users will see how the future of using this company's products and services could look like. And that way we create constantly insight for the company so they know where they should lead their business. The design is a unique tool because it's human-centric. It always starts with the human, and we try to use the design as a tool to find ways how we can create best value for them. The problem with working with humans is, of course, that we cannot ask them what they want in the future. None of us can tell that to anyone. We don't know what we want from the future. We don't know what kind of products or what kind of features we want. But when we see prototype, for example, of these features, we then can understand that, okay, that might create value for me. This is something that I would value. And we call that method what-if method. So we create these scenarios that what if there would be service that would function like this. And then we have interviews and talk with the customers to go deep into their minds and really validate that is this something that would be valuable them to do, and of course valuable for the company or the service provider or the product developer to produce. So it is this constant balance between finding what is valuable for customers, what is valuable for service provider or the product provider, and this is the insight that we think that should lead the company forward. The design is it's a tool. It's a lot more than just aesthetics. It's of course partly that, but design is a problem-solving method. So what we are really designing when we design services or products for our customers, we are designing the business. We are designing new business models. We try to figure out how these products should function, how they should be, how the business model should work. And what is really important is that the humans are also providing these products and services. So we have to also understand the organizations behind the services and products. So we interview and we design better organizations also. Here is one concrete example what we did for a client. It's a Finnish post office. And it's a case about self-service Posti. The starting situation was that they had a huge amount of big data, of course. They have practically all Finns are their clients. You can send postcards to any Finn in Finland. They have millions of items they have to deliver, packages, letters, postcards. And they have also a big self-service network. They had these machines you can deliver packages. The problem was the internal problem with the data, that they had all the data collected in different organization silos, and those different organization silos were developing their own digital services around packages or self-service automats. And it created a not very seamless customer experience. So that had to change. And how we changed that was that we went to to meet the real users, the real clients, or the real customers who are using the service. And we were developing then these hypotheses, how the service could look like, how the service should function. And the most important outcome in these processes is that we start to gaining the insight what creates value for the customer. And in this case, the main thing was the sense of control. Because when in a former model, you have this different information in a different digital services, which leads to bad control situation. You don't get the feel that you control the whole system. You only see the part of the process. So all these have to be bring together, which is easier said than done, especially if you know how separate those things can be in the big companies. But that was like the main thing that had to be changed on the organization level. Then we found out these design drivers, these important little things that have to be within the service. For example, the invoices you get from the post in a timeline. All your packages, all your parcels that you have received or sent in one timeline, so you can easily follow how their process are going. And also if there is anomalies in the process, so if there's some problematic things happening, something is getting lost or something is delayed, or your invoices you have forgot to pay your invoice, then there will be the alert. So it became a tool for people to manage their postal, all the things they do and are related with the post. And the important thing which was that, and the real thing what happened was this creating the working system within the Posti, which combined the strategy with business implementation and data platform. So from strategy, we get these big mega trends that we have to be prepared for, that the amount of packages, for example, people are sending is growing a lot. So the implementation on the business side is that we have to create a service that helps people to manage that challenge. From business implementation, so talking with the customers, talking with the business people, creating the business model, we found out the things that we have to implement and what kind of data we need from the data platform to provide us that we can create this optimal experience for clients. And then, of course, the data platform was a place which shows that are we succeeding in our goals. So is business performing right? Is the customer satisfaction on the right level? So it's a infinitive loop which is constantly flowing. And for example, doing the customer insight work was that we did, within 2 years, with the whole process, we did those interviews, couple of interviews every 2 weeks. So it was constant process. So the process creating the business and the customer services affected all the time, all the three angles of this loop. And without this working, we couldn't create a good service and a working new business. And then one good proof is that that we have succeeded is that the Oma Posti mobile application is one of the most loaded utility application in Finland, and it's really highly ranked. So it works obviously really good. So in the end, if you remember only these 3 things from my presentation, I would be really happy, is that combining data, different type of data, is really important. Otherwise, you don't actually have real insight. So you need both big data and thick data to see better and have the complete picture to develop your business and your good services and products for your customer. Design is the way to create the thick data. So you have to start up, have a design process where you collect the thick data and then constantly apply that to your strategy and your data platform development. And design is the time machine. That's the best time machine I know so far, that you can travel to the future and test your future business. Thank you.